Well, good morning, Wood Ticks and Patriots. We're here again on the JustJim Show. Welcome. Glad you could make it. We're going to do a 1-hour show today rather than a 2-hour. I think we may change our format to 1 hour a day, maybe 2 days a week. Maybe not. We'll see what's going on. With that, I missed the audio track on whatever and my open. Anyway, we're still chasing some technical demons around here. Nothing to be scared about unless you're me. Anyway, we have some stuff to talk about today. Obviously, we always have stuff to talk about because that's why we're doing the show. And whatever isn't in the news. Pardon me, I'm chasing my mental whatever. Whatever we happen to talk about, like all the time, is the coronavirus. And by golly, I guess maybe we'll talk about that today. No, I think not. I think what we're going to talk about today is a variant that nobody seems to be talking about. And I don't know why. Because, as the story goes, for all you wood ticks out there, maybe you patriots might know some of this. This was down in South America, another variant that was let loose by the Wuhan lab. And I'll watch my legalese here because I'm not sure what part Fauci had to play in this, other than Rand Paul is talking about how we funded this research for gain of function. And y'all know what gain of function is. If not, it's when somebody messes with a whatever, biological whatever, and enhances it to do things that it never did before, hence gain of function. And apparently what we've been hearing is that we as the United States, my country, your country, have funded this Wuhan lab over in China to do some kind of biological manipulation. Let's call it just a manipulation, because I sure don't have a PhD after my name to talk about gain of function like some of these doctors do, which are fighting for our rights and our responsibility and their responsibility for turning loose some of these things. Now, this one, we're going to call it what they call it, the Lambda variant. And it's funny how we go from the Delta to the Lambda. Normally they escalate by a letter in the alphabet, but we've gone directly from the Delta variation or variant up to the Lambda. Now, which when I say the name, it reminds me of Animal House, Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. So I can get a chuckle out of some of that. And you can too, I'm sure. But anyway, it's as health officials prepare for further coronavirus variants, Lambda, to spread, one researcher said she believes the mutation will run into a problem in becoming the dominant strain in the U.S. Hallelujah, brothers and sisters. Hallelujah. We don't need another variant to take over the Delta and have more screaming chicken littles. Oh, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. Trust me, we have more than enough quote-unquote health professionals and administrative people screaming that very thing. Put a mask on it. It don't do any good. It won't do any good. It won't keep you from getting sick. Just keep you from getting sicker, as it were, just like the virus or the vaccine. But anyway, Dr. Anna Durbin, a professor in the Department of International Health at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, told Newsweek that the Lambda variant is going to run into a problem here in the U.S. and that that is the Delta variant. Oh, so we have the big all-powerful Delta running amok. Well, we already know that. But the vaccine apparently doesn't do a whole lot to the Delta. And hell, the Lambda isn't going to take hold because it's a weaker strain. But now you got to ask yourself, where's all this stuff coming from? Anyway, it says, she goes on to say, these viruses are all competing with each other for advantage to be the one that survives. Now, yeah, I'm just going to say, don't you think that artificial intelligence, AI, as we like to call it in the TV movie business, is transferring itself over into the biological world? And we've now created a smart bug. Hell, we got smart guns, we got smart this, we got smart phones, we got smart. And they're all smarter than us, you and me. But here's one that's gone off and decided it's going to be, it'll take its rightful step in the genetic status of germs and virus warfare. Let's call it what it is. This thing was not designed for any other purpose, my humble opinion, not to be anything except a weapon of war, to manipulate the recipients or the masses by turning this thing loose on the world. And, and which leads into another partial story that I always say or talk about, and that is the man behind the curtain that you don't see. You know there's somebody there, but you're just not sure who it is. The man behind the curtain wants his interest paid back on his investment in what he spent his money on. And what he's spending his money on runs from real estate to vehicles to housing, fresh starts, housing starts, blah, blah. Durbin said, we know that the Lambda variant has some of the same mutations as the Delta variant that we think, parentheses, will allow it to be more transmittable. How much more transmittable is it? And is this the reason for some of the health officials waving the chicken little flag about put your mask on, put your mask on? Again, there are only certain kinds of masks. And I'm going to tell you, if you look in the hospital videos that come out for the newscasts, there ain't a one of them that have one of those little blue masks on, because they're smart enough to understand. And some of you have seen the video where these dumb things are made. They're on the floor in India and Indonesia, the Gold Coast. They're being manufactured by the tens of thousands, probably for 50 cents a day in a sweatshop of sorts, and packaged up. And if you've seen the video, they're laying on the floor as one guy just sews the bejeebers out of a whole series of them and then passes them to the next guy, and he cuts them out. The other guy sorts them out, puts them the right way, stacks them up, puts them in a box. And guess what? You get to see them at Walmart, your local store over there. And how much you paying for that shit? Pardon my French. There's a quarter. What, $19 for 10, 20 masks, something like that? Yeah, that's interest on your investment. Anyway, it will be more transmissible and be more difficult to, it will be difficult to outcompete the Delta variant. While the Lambda variant which was first detected in Peru, stop, not America. Did you ever notice this stuff starts in, let's be honest, third world countries? They don't shove it right up our you-know-whats. Hey, saved the quarter. They start them off in some third world country. And Peru is really not, I guess, not necessarily a third world country. I don't know. Maybe they become that. We're chasing them, that's for sure. So it was detected in Peru and has predominantly spread in South America. Now, what's in South America? I don't know. They're all coming here. Only makes up 0.17% of the variant cases in the U.S. The Delta variant is responsible for more than 93% of circulating U.S. cases. So 17%, so it's obviously not predominantly taking over the Delta variant. And I got to ask the very simple question. Now this is a UP story. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's a UP story. I can't remember. And I picked this up, a number of days ago, last week sometime, I think after last week's show. And I was going to jump on and do the old, little short ditty on it. And see if I can find a date here. This was 2 days ago, but that was a week ago. Anyway, did you ever, I forget where I was going. Anyway, long story short, Durbin thinks that because the Delta variant has become so prevalent in the U.S., Lambda won't be able to outcompete the highly transmittable strain currently surging across the country. And I love the verbiage, currently surging. Well, the English language is very specific, and I have always, anybody that knows me, always said that the misuse of the English language is the media's prime directive. You can't say it any clearer than that. They're grabbing little buzzwords, either being fed to them by the UPAP or somebody sitting at a teleprompter, and then you just need to hire somebody that can read the teleprompter right there. It's right there. Read the story. I choose not to use it at the moment. I use the story that I got right here. It's survival of the fittest, she said. Isn't that an interesting perspective? Survival of the fittest. Do we do any of that? We just got through with the Olympics. What is human nature? Survival of the fittest. So have we injected some form of artificial intelligence of human nature into a virus? Think about that correlation there. It's survival of the fittest, she said. You have these viruses that replicate and they get mutations. Self-mutate. This is stuff out of the Sci-Fi Channel, isn't it? I mean, ultimately, that's really where it is, the Sci-Fi Channel. We sit at home and call them horror movies. And this crazy doctor, it lives, Anyway, the one that can replicate for the highest titler or be transmitted better is the one that's going to survive, because that's the one that's going to spread more easily, and the other variants are going to sort of die out or sit in the background. Or guess what? They'll mutate into something better than the lambda. Are you prepared for that? Do you see what's going on? No one talks about. All you hear about are these village idiots that run around spewing crap into the ears of citizens about the sky is falling, that we have to do this, and it's been this step-down thing. Oh, we got inoculation, but only people from 60 to 61 can take it right now. And then we're going to see what happens to them. And then we'll put it out 55 to 60. We'll let those people see what happens. Think about this reverse progressiveness that this whole thing is taken. We're stopping at 12 years old right now. So your kids going to school aren't necessarily going to be vaccinated. But wait, you've heard it too. You're going to hear it again from me. There will be vaccination clinics within grade schools and high schools. And the thing that will happen, it's happening all around. Just get your bobblehead on, look around. I got to get my bobblehead down here. Look around what's going on. It is, in my opinion, this is all in my opinion, folks. It is one of the most ridiculous intrusions into American and civil liberties and lives that I've ever seen. I'm pushing near 7 decades old. I do not think that I have ever or can remember anything that has been as crazy as this. And it is a nonstop thrust by a certain group of people to, in my opinion, take over and bring the sheep to the herd, not to the pasture, into the barn. And it's like the only thing that's missing now is trains. You all know where I'm going on that one. So anyway, because, it's just there's an artificial created gain of function virus that somewhere we pay our tax dollars, your tax dollars, my tax dollars, paid for in some foreign country. I don't know if that, east over there. Or is it west? I don't know. I'll have to get my directions straight. Anyway, to develop in secret in some laboratory, and it didn't happen in a wet market. I've said this before. It's common knowledge now that they've eased that story into the general populace. That it wasn't a wet market. It wasn't a bat. God, I eat bats all the time. I don't get sick. What the hell's the problem here? Let's get real. I know half my friends eat bats. Oh, wait a minute. They're calling us batty. Yeah, that's it. We're batty. I guess we don't eat bats. We're just batty because we think this. Because we have some form of reasonable rationale that can just start with whatever they feed us, the news, and these qualified officials, and we just think backwards. We take it apart. We ask the question. Speaking of question, this is kind of a free-form show today. The other day I was watching a show, and I don't remember whose show it was, but it was one of those conservative shows. God, half the people don't watch. But that's okay. I got the wrong side out today. I grabbed the wrong one. You guys want some swag? Hey, look at this. You could have your own Just Jim Show swag. Get your own coffee cup. Start the day out right. A show that I was watching the other day. Do you remember the lady in Central Park? It was maybe a couple months ago. Well, it was the day George Floyd had his happening. She was apparently walking the dog. And the big video came out, and there was this, that, or the other thing. And this black man had a video of this woman with her dog. And I'm watching the video the other day when the story was going on. And I'm thinking she's abusing the dog because the dog is choking and she's yanking the dog's collar. And it's like, where's all the animal rights? Where's PETA? That baby was yanking on that dog. But shorter story long, the video portrayed this lady as a blithering, screaming idiot that needed to be locked up because she was accusing this gentleman of this, that, or the other thing. Well, the story goes, as it was broken down by this other commentator, the story goes that the things that happened prior to the video, him shooting this woman doing her thing with the dog, and she's heard saying, well, there's this black man, he's threatening me, I'm in Central Park, and blah, 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 blah. And the conversation went with the 911 call. So somebody had the cojones. Whoa, what's that? Cojones. Where is that? The know-how to take a few questions and say, okay, what happened around this whole thing? Let's have the whole story. So let's investigate. And that person did. And what happened or what came out of the whole thing was a series of posts on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere prior to the video coming out, being released, a section of video that showed this happening. And the conversation went, and I'll paraphrase because I can't remember it, went something like the black man was telling this lady that you had to go to a certain section in Central Park to be able to have your dog run without a leash. So he wanted this dog to have her to put a leash on the dog. That was the start of this encounter, interaction. And from there, she said, I don't know, they really didn't say anything other than she kind of got offensive, took offense to the statement, and came back to him with, oh yeah, I'm, not going to happen. Yeah, what difference does it make to you? Because this black man said that he was a bird watcher, and he comes there and watches the birds all the time, and it was a place that wasn't supposed to have unleashed dogs. So the banter went back and forth, apparently, and ultimately he did say to her, by his own admission, that, okay, you do what you're going to do, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and you ain't going to like it, quote unquote. That much I do remember what I heard from the story. And it just sort of, kind of escalated from there. And after that encounter took place is when she said she's going to call 911, and apparently he had dog treats trying to entice the dog to him to do whatever it was that he was going to do. And she was holding the dog back by the collar, hence the dog it looked like choking and this, that, and the other thing. And obviously the dog may have thought, oh, treats, I'm going to go get some treats. Anyways, long story short, the video starts, and now you see this woman with a dog wrestling to trying to get away, and she's calling 911. Well, the reporter, or the person that took an interest in this story, actually got hold of the 911 call. And there was a series of bad phone connections. You hear the 911 operator clearly. She's trying to get through to this caller, and all you hear is, I'm in. And the next thing you know is, it's 3 times she tried to tell her to move to get better reception, so that this 911, she could hear the story of whatever the call was about. So the video goes back and forth between the 911 voice, digital voice thing, and the video of this man shooting this video, and the woman with the dog, thinking that she needs to talk louder in order to be heard by the 911 desk, starts escalating her voice. And when you listen back to, they did a flip-flop back and forth between the video with her and the 911 recording. She could not get through to the 911 operator in a normal conversation. All you heard was bad cell reception and a word here and a word there. And then they'd flip back to the woman, and she's obviously getting agitated. And then the guy, not Corona, the guy continues to shoot, and she continues to escalate her voice. I believe it was 3 times during this call. And all of a sudden, this whole video starts to make sense. Apparently, the black man, the bird watcher, there were comments on somebody's social media post that they said they've had encounters with this man, a bird watcher, quote unquote, with their dogs. And he was in a city council meeting, apparently yelling and bitching about dogs running around outside of a designated area within the park. And he wants stricter dog laws or whatever it was. So now all of a sudden that whole story, that whole YouTube and national news clip starts to make a little more sense. And apparently she got fired, and now she's suing her employer because the whole story wasn't there. And then the other day, somebody got kicked out of through Major League Baseball. Somebody thought they were using one of the players on the field thought that they were using the N-word, and he was trying to call the mascot, which was down the bleachers or down the seats, to come over and meet his children. He's been banned. He was banned for life, apparently, from going to these games via the Major League Baseball. And now there's this whole thing going on where it came out what was actually said. And in this agitated world, not Corona, that we're living in today, the inability for people to listen has become blatantly obvious. They're, instead of listening, hearing, and trying to comprehend what's being said, much like you guys are doing to me now, you're thinking about what I just said. Instead of comprehending it, everyone seems to be preparing their reply to what's just been said, instead of sitting down, thinking and listening. Thinking, does anybody think anymore? Obviously not many. And God, I got my whole thing is missing. Oh, I know why. Hang on. 2 seconds while I do a techie thing. I'm going to come right over here, and it is. Why? Huh. That's crazy. Wow. All of a sudden I have nothing. All right, well, we'll do it without it. It was fun. It's fun when it works, but it doesn't, so. Yeah, we'll go the other way. Hey, where was I going? Oh, yeah, people not thinking. It's become very obvious. You're going to have a standard concept. I catch myself doing it all the time. Jumping in instead of finishing what I'm listening to, letting the other person speak their mind. Though I will say that people, I think because this happens so much, people want to say multiples of the same thing because they want to get their point across for fear that you're not listening to them. Take JB, for instance. Oh, our hair-sniffing president. Yeah. How many times does he say the same thing over and over and over? Maybe 3-4 times, 2-3 times in a press conference. And for those of you who know and understand a little bit about Joe Biden, there's teleprompter paddles. All I got to do is read them. And many people have said maybe Joe should just stand there. We turn the paddles around and let us read the teleprompter. But he says the same thing over and over again because I don't know if he's trying to clear his mind so that he can make his thought process, that he can do whatever. Anyway, oh, Lordy. There goes my audio. No, it is my audio, my settings. I got to go in here 2 seconds and try and look at this. Where's my audio? There it is. I got no preview. Well, it's all correct. Huh. Sorry. It's whatever. We had audio problems last week. We had this big thing show up. Anyway, where people are constantly pre-thinking what their reply is going to be to something that someone else is saying. And you and I both know, excuse me, I'm not Corona, that this is not the way to have a normal conversation. We all have our beliefs. We all have our positions in life. And are both political, social, religious, and most of it doesn't mean doodly squat. But it, look at that. From the no one gives a rainbow unicorn poop file. Yeah. Anyway, it's nice to listen. There are times that even like I said, I do it all the time. I'm jumping in because I already, and it's most of the time I'm correct. A conversation goes a certain direction. I know it's going there. I just nip it in the bud. Snip, snip. Like I'd like to do. Never mind. I ain't saying it. But it's time. It's time. I think people need to sit down and listen. I'm not saying you got to change your mind because of a conversation, but to allow the let's agree to disagree throughout a conversation needs to come to play. Give me the real reasons and facts, and I'll consider what it is you're saying to sway my opinion from my opinions. Anyways, with that, staying on the pandemic line, here's a little article right here. Pandemic Unemployment Assistance PUA. Never mind, that's right. That's the wrong one. Who put that in my stack? Who did that? Who did that? Knock it off. On a not so, well, I guess it's on a lighter subject, a later subject matter. We'll get back to this one shortly. Sorry, shuffling papers. This week, in a UPI story, the body of a woman missing for 43 years was found in a New Hampshire river. Now, isn't that special? 43 years this lady's been missing. Alberta Lehman had been missing since 1978, but her vehicle was found Thursday, August 5th, 2021, in the Connecticut River just inside New Hampshire. The remains of a New Hampshire woman who went missing some 43 years ago is believed to have been found Thursday in a vehicle at the bottom of the Connecticut River in 14 feet of water. That's all, 14 feet of water, which my cynical mind goes right to work and says, how can you not see a car 14 feet under the water in a river? Oh, might that be pollution? Is it muddy water? Great group, great guy. If you like the blues, Muddy Waters. It's not known how the vehicle found near New Hampshire/Vermont border, but it got to the bottom of how it got to the bottom of the river. What do you mean? It sunk. That's how it gets to the bottom of the river. These are your news reporters writing this crap. Give me another quarter. Anyway, it's being investigated by the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department, which found the vehicle, and the Gorham Police Department, not Gotham. I'm thinking Batman. Lancaster Police Department and Vermont State Police. Was there foul play some 47 years ago? I don't know. We're going to find out. Maybe, probably not. The vehicle was found south of Mount Orne Covered Bridge that connects Lancaster, New Hampshire with Lunenburg, Vermont. The vehicle that was found Thursday is a 1972 Pontiac Le Mans with a license plate of OB610, which is the license plate that was registered to Alberta Lehman at the time. Fish and Game Lieutenant Robert Mancini told WMUR. Lehman, who lived in Gorham, went missing in 1978, but her disappearance was not considered suspicious. So she just got in her car and took off. Obviously missed the bridge. No, that's not. I shouldn't make fun of this because it's not funny. Alberta Lehman was in Gilman, Vermont on July 25th, 1978, and she was heading back towards the Gorham area on that day. Mancini said. He said officials are working to positively confirm the remains in the vehicle are that of Lehman. Lehman's daughter, whose name was not released, told WMUR, who was at the scene on Friday when her mother's car was found, said she never stopped looking for her, which you wouldn't. If your loved one goes away and just disappears out of nowhere, into nowhere, you're going to keep a search thing going on. I have personal relationship to that story. Not this particular story, but I have to continue searching until you find something. New Hampshire Fish and Game said it's continuing its search around where the vehicle was found for clues. I'm thinking you want to go back upstream and look for your clues along there, because somehow I think this thing got washed down a little bit. Authorities asked for anyone with information on Lehman to contact New Hampshire State Police. You know, I feel a little sorry. It's news. It's not the news, but it is the news, because this was somebody, obviously a mother, somebody's mother, and she went missing a long time, 43 years ago. That's too bad. That's a shame in today's world, isn't it? I don't know. Apparently, people at times don't care for other people. Here we go. And this isn't old news. This was out of July 16th. Biden White House will weaponize Facebook again with eliminating problematic accounts. You know, Jen P. Psaki, I don't know why she thinks the P is silent, but maybe you need to get out the eraser. Call her P. Psaki. Yeah. The Biden administration announced at a press conference briefing on Facebook Friday that it was working with Facebook to eliminate posts that contain misinformation. Now, if that isn't a subjective word in the English language, misinformation, that means that you have proof. In order for something to be called misinformation, or information, it has to contain certain facts or lack certain facts. And at this stage of the game, what a group of people call misinformation, possibly, welcome to listening, possibly may not be misinformation. But, you know, right off the bat, we're just going to think about rainbows, buttercups, and cupcakes. Yeah. Because that's the way we want it. That would be hair sniffing Joe Biden's White House with P. Psaki. The comments came after President Biden said misleading information on Facebook were killing people. Killing people? Are we sure about that? Where Facebook posts are killing people? They're killing people. The only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. Hey, Psaki. Here we go. Here's what I think of your press release. That and that fairy tooth video that you got yourself involved in yesterday was, I made a post the other day. When I get up in the morning and have my coffee, I do not expect to see some fairy tooth fag running around pretending he's an aide in the White House, doing all this crap trying to convince certain group of people to get vaccinated. I'm telling you, I do not want to see my tax dollars spent in that manner. Not one red cent. Oh, boy, I'm being racist now. Red cent. But I got black coffee. Should I? There you go. I'm back in the graces now. Oh, Lordy. Afterwards, Facebook pushed back against the president's comment, taking issue with the characterization and involvement in promoting vaccinations. Yeah, since when does Facebook push that? I'm just saying. I'm just asking a question. It's just a thought. That's just Jim. It's just a thought. We will not be distracted by accusations which aren't supported by the facts. Since when, since when is Facebook waving the fact checker flag? The fact, what? With the creation of artificial intelligence, which is exactly what goes on with fact checking, certain keywords are mentioned in a post and they get dumped into the bin of artificial intelligence, rolled around a little bit, and something comes out and says, oh, that's not true. Or because we only see the word 500 times out of 1,000, it's half false. There's your Facebook for you. More than 3.3 million Americans have also used our vaccine finder tool to help find out where and how to get vaccinated. That's interesting. I have to keep an eye on my audio meters here to make sure we're not slashing out like we did last week. So far, so good. Although I haven't played any audio, and I don't know why they're not... none of this stuff is coming through. Sorry. I can't play half my stuff now. Anyway, today, as I said, it'd be a short video, a short show. The Freedom of Information Council and other entities that are supposedly our watchdogs, and they just seem to lumber along about at the same speed of some of our government agencies, we're working on a story in the back room about some local government agencies and the buffoons that work there. Oh, he said what? Yeah, we got buffoons. We got buffoons. Yeah, we play some music for the buffoons to dance to while they're working, not. Anyway, that you'll have to watch a future show for that, because I'm telling you, there are some things that we're going to bring out that I'll guarantee you not one affiliated quote unquote news organization will ever dive into. That's why you listen to Just Jim, because we have the cojones to come and say what you're thinking. No, that's the guy from Boston. My friend Joe Ligotti. He likes to say things you're thinking but can't say. We'll play some of his stuff too. Joe's a good guy. He's a good guy. Anyway, so and this is kind of sort of old news. Psaki, I hate to say it, Psaki and Biden, they're old news already. They're yesterday's news, at least to some people that I know. People who have woken up, not woke, not the woke crowd. Some people who have woken up and actually understand and finally, well, I think people have been seeing it, but middle America likes to be last in line when we're talking about admitting something. The world wars, especially World War II, if you remember your history. Oh, are they still teaching history in school? Another subject. Middle American people are very slow to get up and be motivated. Yet when they get up, when they're motivated enough to get up and go do something that they finally admit as a collective that there's something going on and it's time to stop it, I don't know of anybody in the entire globe, that's that big round thing that we all live on, has the ability to stop the average American. In my opinion, again, it's just my opinion, but we have the most formidable group of people, once motivated, that the world has ever seen. There is a common unspoken mission, and that mission is to be accomplished. Not like a bunch of people who live in caves, come out and do little terrorist attacks. That's not what I'm talking about. Y'all patriots know what I'm talking about. When it's time, it's time. Now, I guess we got to move on. I got a couple minutes here. Oh yeah, a couple minutes left. I have a thing. This is, again, kind of old news. I'm only going on once a week, so sometimes the news gets a little old. You've maybe heard a little bit about it. Another AP story. This has to do with the infrastructure bill. $3.5 trillion. $trillion. Y'all, anybody out there have an idea what $1 trillion is? Yeah, I know it's more than $1 billion, but do you actually understand what that is? I have to say, the boys and girls, and I'll call them boys and girls in Congress. Some of them are older than me, but not by much, and some of them are. But they're boys and girls. They're my juniors, so I'll call them boys and girls. Are playing with here. This is now the new monetary standard in the world. Computer paper. Let's call it that. It's a dollar bill. We'll just print some more because this is what we want to do. What is it exactly we want to do? We want to spend money. We want to print more money so we can spend more money. $3.5 trillion. Do you have any idea, a concept of how your children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, which I have, do you have an idea how this $3.5 trillion on top of what's already there is going to get paid for? And then I'm asking you, now, okay, in Wisconsin, there has been a 47% increase in homeschooling. I'm thinking we have a whole new woke crowd. That means 47% less money supposedly is going into the school tax system. Teachers want smaller class sizes. They got it. Unbelievable. Now, in Wisconsin, I believe homeschooled children have the legal right to partake in extracurricular activities, sports, etc., facilities, because your tax dollars are paying for it. Some states don't you cut that cord, you still have to pay for it, but you can't use it. Anyways, $3.5 trillion in this, and you listen to Schumer, Pelosi, and the rest of them. I haven't heard from Feinstein. I'm going to have to put somebody on Feinstein and see exactly what she's been up to. Rumor had it, not COVID. Rumor had it that she was not going to run again. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will put some people on it. But it's like this horde of libtards. I call them libtards. They're not liberals, they're libtards. Have decided that they're just going to pull this stuff out of thin air and put it into a infrastructure bill. Now, you and I, normal people, which average America is normal, you say the English language, the word. What the hell was that? Oh, my dog fell over. Huh. Hang on. You all right, buddy? Okay. Here I'm walking. The normal people hear the word infrastructure and they think the things that make the clock works, stuff inside the clock that makes things work. And they're very specific to a piece of equipment. Now, the highway system, that's infrastructure from point A, New York to LA, but you could probably drop the coast off. You go through the Midwest, down south, cross the border. If you have your vaccine papers, you can cross the border now. And going north, that's that way. And I suppose you can go south too. But however, infrastructure, communications, transportation, the infrastructure in America is spelled out by the departments. They're called almost like job codes. Your job code, my job code. I'm supposed to do this, that, or the other thing. And the federal government has the same exact guidelines and job code. They're just pushing the envelope. Oh, this is us. Give us some more money. We'll take care of that for you. Well, what happened to the states? Well, I thought we had the 14th Amendment that said we have states' rights, individualism. Every state has its right, connected by an infrastructure that's transportation, commerce, interstate commerce. Those are the things that are traditionally thought of as infrastructure within America. Now remember, you're listening to the Just Jim Show, so that means that that's my interpretation of it. But I've talked to a lot of people, and if you think about it logically, I'm sure you're going to understand and probably agree with me that the infrastructure that these yahoos are talking about, giving money to the fine arts, what's the infrastructure in that? What is the infrastructure in daycare? I can't fathom it. I wish somebody would send me an email that explains that to me so I can understand it. Right there, right on the screen. News at thejustjimshow.com. Somebody send me an email. Somebody pick up the phone and call me, 855-490-2300. Call the studio hotline. Tell me what daycare has to do with the infrastructure of America. I don't get it. I do not get it. Not in my world. It's part of my budget in my home, and it's up to me to find the workload by which I can make my family live. Has nothing to do. Security, that's on me. It's also on the White House. It's on our quote-unquote supposed leaders. National security, because I take care of my home security. State security, we have National Guard. We have other things within each state to help protect the rights and wants and wishes of the citizens of the states of America. I don't see daycare falling into the national security zone or an infrastructure bill. What's it got to do with highways, byways, bridges, railroad? Again, that falls in transportation, e-commerce, or interstate commerce. Those are the common understandings of what an infrastructure bill is. These yutzes, village idiots, court jesters, are running around just waving the $1 trillion flag. And they're claiming that now, I heard today, that they believe they have the Republicans on board, enough Republicans on board to get this bill passed. And I'm going to say to you that it isn't it time rhino season is open again, because I'm going to tell you that it seems very self-apparent that elected officials, and they're not officials, they're elected citizens, are running amok. When DT, Donald Trump, said the swamp, he was talking about those people that capitulate, quote unquote, across the aisle. There is no aisle in D.C. When are you people going to get this? There are career politicians, and if you're a citizen and you're going to go serve your country or your state or your city, your town, you go and you do your job, what the citizens, the voting citizens of that particular area, town, road, district, congressional district, whatever it is. You do their bidding, not what you want to do, what you think they're talking about. Welcome back to my earlier conversation. To listen is next to godliness, because if you don't listen and understand, and if you don't understand, you're supposed to ask, well, what do you mean by that? People can either explain it or they can't. It's really not hard. American life is not hard at all. It really isn't. I'm going to go on to the last thing. I got a couple minutes left here. News that's not necessarily the news. There we are. This came out in 2016 by the World Economic Forum, released a Facebook video back then, 2016. And they said that by 2030, it's only a couple of years down the road, technology will have advanced to the point that even the idea of owning objects might be obsolete. Take a look at the world around you. This is 2021. We're not at 2030 anymore, but if is there a bubble in real estate? Is there a bubble in the stock market? Is there a bubble in the automobile industry? I'm going to sound like a very negative person here. I'm not. I like my creature comforts. But I have trouble rationalizing spending $85,000 on a pickup truck. In my younger year, I was living on Easy Street in a suburb in southeastern Wisconsin for 85 grand. Now you can't buy a house for 200. You're laughed out of the market. The same little stinking 3-bedroom, bath-and-a-half ranch on a city lot, $250,000. Is there a bubble in the real estate market? But we'll give you interest-free 1%, 0.5%. Go buy your home. Overspend. Do you think this is going to sustain itself? When some hair-sniffing boy and some little midget doctor who's out spreading the AIDS virus in Africa 10, 20 years ago is going to, when they lock you down in your house, do you honestly think that you're going to be able to make that mortgage payment of $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 a month? Where's it coming from? Well, never mind, we'll just print some more money and give it to you. Yeah, you stay home. We'll print more money. In some ways, not owning things is easier. You have fewer commitments, less responsibility, and the freedom to bail whenever you want, which is true. There are upsides to owning less. There's also a big problem. The reality is, when you buy a device that requires proprietary software to run, you don't own it. Welcome to Microsoft. You buy a yearly license for the OS operating system or your antivirus. Think about it. When everything is a lease, you also agree to a life defined by someone else's terms. Oh, wait a minute. Someone else's terms? Are we talking Fauci, Biden, and the rest of them? Somebody else's terms? When hardware is merely a vessel for software and not a useful thing on its own, you don't really get to decide anything. A company will decide when to stop pushing vital updates. You know that about that? Yeah. It might also decide what you do with the product after it's dead. Yeah, what are you supposed to do with it? You can trace much of this back to Section 1201 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, which basically makes it illegal to circumvent digital locks. Ooh, we can do a whole story on this. So anyways, the short story of this, the scary thing that this only sounds terrible if you have the mental energy to care about principles. And I'm going to say, in this day and age, how many young millenniums and people walking around, they're falling into manholes because they didn't see the cover off, have a basic energy to care about principle. All they care about is, I gotta have my cell phone connection so I can play some stupid video game. And I'll say this in closing, that life isn't $15 an hour. Life is like a video game. To all you millenniums, people who demand $15 an hour, as you go through a Walmart self-checkout and not have somebody standing there doing it for you, it's like a video game. Life is very much like a video game. You start on ground zero, you open the door, and you have a bag of tools when you walk in. That should be your education. And you manipulate through level 1 and you go up to level 2, or you get bumped down, you get killed, and you go back to level 1. The workforce is exactly like a video game. For all you village idiots that don't get it and want $15, $20 an hour, you got to earn it. Tenure. Something to be said about tenure. Go to school, get an education, have a bag of tools so when you walk in the door. Maybe you'll have a career, maybe not. I don't know if this is going to work or not. It worked yesterday, but if it doesn't, we'll come back and say goodbye.
Said, I need a defender. So God made a patriot. God said, I need somebody willing to sacrifice everything, his fortune, his sacred honor, even his life, for liberty and something called inalienable rights that he cannot see but knows he cannot live without. So God made a patriot. God said, I need somebody willing to ride a horse through sleepy towns in the dark of night, sounding the alarm, entreating neighbors to take up arms against an overwhelming force of wicked tyranny. So God made a patriot. God said, I need someone who, even after crushing defeats, rises up and stands tall. Someone who hears the clarion call that these are the times that try men's souls and does not shrink from the trial. Someone who will cross a frozen river in the dead of winter, when all logic and reason says turn back, abandon hope. So God made a patriot. Then God said, I need a man who knows of the rise and fall of great nations, who knows of human nature and the corrupting influence of power and the fragility of liberty. I need this man, along with his like-minded brethren, to write an enduring constitution. So God made a patriot. God said, I need a person, one person, who's willing to do whatever it takes, even write a book to confront injustice and spark a movement that would tear apart a people so that chains will rightfully be shattered and a blessed union eventually emerge. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who, with the love of family and for the love of country, will cross a vast ocean and storm a heavily fortified beach. And, if he survives, charge through 200 yards of bullets and blood across that merciless beach. And if he survives, scale the towering cliffs. And if he survives, begin the long march to free a continent. And if he survives, return home and, with the same resolute determination, rebuild a nation, and someday be called the greatest generation. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who will, without thought of self, invest in schools and scouts and church and community, so that the proposition that all men are created equal remains a beacon to enlighten the world, and that such a beacon shall not perish from the earth. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone who will have the courage to not give up her seat on a bus and thus force a nation to confront its deepest divisions and heal the wounds and pursue the dream that inspires all hearts. So God made a patriot. And God said, I need someone strong enough to stand against any enemy, foreign or domestic, that would try to steal the freedom so dearly defended, the rights so righteously upheld, yet gentle enough to help a small child carry a star-spangled flag in a hometown parade. So God made a patriot. Then God said, I need a man who will speak the truth to his own leaders, that in order to preserve our great nation, we will not sacrifice the well-being of future generations for the sake of our own. Someone who will tirelessly toil day upon night, no matter the setback, no thought of surrender. Someone who will prayerfully rise every morning to climb the wall as a defender, duly endowed with the honored gift of generations before, while offering a solemn promise to generations ahead. A defender who will ensure that the way of truth and the torch of liberty remain forever lit in this shining city on a hill. So God made a patriot.
And if you watch my show and that doesn't move you to get up and get it done, I don't know what the hell will. I'll give you $1 for that one. And with that, this is Just Jim in the morning, the Just Jim Show, from the bunker at Lake Wish I Be Gone, just east of Lake Wobegon. Anyway, with that, I will see you next week. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a good day and a better tomorrow.